Hey everyone, welcome back to Ideas and Impact. I'm your host, Jeremy Jones. Today we're joined with Jason Gerardo, and we're going to be talking about some insights around living the life you want and reaching the goals to help get you to where you want to go. Before we dive into the three big ideas that Jason had shared with me, Jason, welcome to the show. If you would mind sharing a little bit about your background and the business that you run today.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's great to be here, and I'm glad to be with your audience today. Yes, as you said, my name is Jason Gerardo. My company is One Path Coaching, and I help people with their mental health. And within the line of today, I help people live that life they desire. And so we'll talk more about that, of course. Um, my background starts at a very early age. I know sometimes when I talk to hosts about that, they go, "Uh-oh, time."
Yeah,
But I'll be very succinct about the story because it does feed into my journey, does talk to about what we're talking about today.
perfect.
Um, from my very earliest of age, I knew that my calling was to be a healer, helping people on their journey. I was always that friend that people would come to for help. I was always very empathetic. I knew when to listen. If they asked for advice, I was good at that as well. But also just holding that space, as they say, for people and helping out. Um, I do have some lineage on that. My great grandmother was a healer and that was passed down. I didn't get a chance to meet her, but my father would say, "Oh, you remind me of grandma."
Oh,
And just
wow.
things would come up just on the way that I would respond and act with people and interact and things of that nature without going too deep. Um, but even though there was that recognition, it was something that really wasn't talked about or mentored. And as a small child, having these feelings that were, kind of different than everybody, to an extent, it was a little scary.
Yeah.
And so without it really being talked about or without really having a mentor, I kind of pushed it away. I kind of walked away from it. And so I thought that maybe it was something that wasn't not good in a way, or, nothing that just wasn't normal. And, what were we doing at a young age? We're trying to fit in, we're trying to be part of
Yeah.
that. So I really just kind of pushed it away and just went about my life. Through my life, I was always that friend, like I said, that would help people. And it was always there. It was always part of who I was, so to speak. Um, Went through my life as regular. Out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps, traveled the world, saw what I saw, did what I did, had a chance to really meet some amazing people and grow in a lot of different ways from that. Still keeping in mind, kind of in the back of my mind, what my calling was. Then when I got out of the Marine Corps, what do we do at a young age, whether it's out of high school, out of the military, out of college? You get a job. And so I went to work. And so I just started working, and it still wasn't that still was there with me, but it wasn't a career. So I got into retail leadership, and I found within that I could mentor people, I could help people, working with a lot of young folks that were in college, had, going through things in their life. I was able to support them on that journey too. So it just kind of worked out. Always having that calling. 1999 comes around, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And what's the toolbox that I can use to really help people? Because, helping people and being a good listener is only going to take you so far to really go to where you're going to go. So I looked
Yep.
at what did I need? And I needed to find a modality. I needed to find some system to work within to help people. And that's when I came across NLP, neuro linguistic programming.
Hmm.
NLP basically is, using the language of the mind to help us get the results that we want. The saying is that we're in control of our thoughts, therefore we're in control of our results. So I started studying NLP. For time's sake, I'll jump ahead. Studied it, kind of just was living, doing my life, moved a couple times. 2010, I got certified as a practitioner. At that time, I still didn't have everything lined up in my head, but we're going to talk about kind of today that journey, what it looks like. And I wasn't there. I wasn't hitting those steps. I did have an
Hmm.
awareness, but I wasn't clearing out what I needed to clear out to make this work for me. 2015, I got my master practitioner.
Hmm.
And at that point, I started seeing clients. At that point, I really started to make the shift that I needed to make to live the life that I desired. So I worked on that, saw clients, part-time, still working a full-time job. And then some things happen in life. And obviously we know what 2020 brought for all of us. That actually made some opportunities with virtual things and being to be able to help people in that sense on online. And in 2021, I went full-time with my business. And at that point, I had to shift my values, my beliefs. I got myself a coach and I started working on it. And I've been seeing clients full time for about a year and a half now.
I love it. Good stuff. Well, let's dive into your three big ideas you shared with me, which I thought were fantastic, and they do really tie into what you've described there with your story, which was fantastic. So let's go into big idea number one. In order to live the life you desire, you must start with awareness. Why do you say that, and how can someone do that?
So awareness, being aware of where you're at. Anytime you want to make a change and you have a goal, you look at two things. You look at, where do I want to go, and where am I currently at?
Yep.
So where am I at, and where do I want to be? And then you make, what changes do I need to make, or what do I need to do to get there? Okay. So that awareness is the awareness of what that goal is, and that true awareness of where you actually are, not where you think you want to be or whatever. And that's where having a coach helps kind of dig deep into that. Like, okay, where are you truly at? Where are you really, if you were to ask me back in 99, or where are you at? And I'd be like, I'm ready to go, but I wasn't truly ready to go yet. So having that awareness, being clear on what is, whether it's a calling or your desired outcome or a passion that you have, and really looking into that. There's three things that I talk about is, we have three connections: connections to self, connection to others, and connection to something bigger than that: source, nature, spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it. By connecting with yourself and knowing who you truly are and what you truly want, that's step one of awareness. Looking at others, how do you want to interact with the world? How do you see yourself interacting with the world? You go from there. And then how do you fit in the big picture? What does it look like for you in the scheme of life? Taking those three things, that's a great place to start on awareness, right? You can really get a clear picture of what you want. And that's really about how to start with awareness to start with.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, give me an example maybe of a client that you've worked with of how you've been able to help apply that into their life.
I had a business owner that came to me, and he already had one business, and he wanted to open a second business, and he was a personal trainer, and he also wanted to open a coffee bar too. So he had some ideas,
Hmm.
but he was a very much so a fire ready aim, or however they say it, the
Yeah,
wrong way.
yeah.
Not not really taking the aim first. So I helped him get clarity on what he wanted, what he truly wanted. Okay, so you want another business for what purpose? That's a great question.
Hmm.
And then, or we can ask, another business, what's that an example of? Well, growth, development, whatever it was for him. I also helped him with, there's a series of questions. It's in quantum linguistics where we asked, like, okay, opening another business. And this is the awareness and the clarity. So what would happen if you did open another business? What wouldn't happen if you opened another business? And then what would happen if you didn't open another business? And what wouldn't happen if you didn't open another business?
Hmm.
And those four questions really unlock, like, in the unconscious mind, as we call it, like, what are you really thinking? What are you really feeling? And it helped him to get very clear on that. Yes, he did want to open that second business, and he was, the positives were much more outweighing anything that he could see as not being positive. So it really helped him to shift and be full in. Okay, I'm ready now. Let's do this. And then we went there and we helped him build the goal, build his future, build the steps from there.
That's awesome. What a great example. And those questions I think are really key to ask yourself the right questions. And it starts to prompt those answers in your own mind. That's what happens when you ask yourself those questions, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the quality of your
Yeah.
life is based on the quality of your questions, as someone
For,
said.
for sure. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's go to big idea number two, and that is you have to clear out anything that's holding you back from achieving what you want. Why is this one so important, and what are some of the steps to do this?
Yeah, this is the one that, if anyone could take anything away from today, this is the main one, because we see so perception is projection. So we see the world through our filters. So what's inside of us, we see outside of us. And that's a filter, as we call it, in the unconscious mind, filters the world. All this information comes in, and then we interpret what that information means. So you and I might be walking down the street and experience the exact same situation, and we'll take away two very different stories, so to speak, from it. Okay. Those filters are our, you know, our values, our beliefs, our stories that we tell ourselves from the past. So it's so important to clear that out, because let's say you have a limiting belief about money and you're trying to start a business. That's not going to go well. You know, if, as an example, if say you, in growing up at a very young age, you saw someone that made a lot of money, but they might not were the greatest of people. And so you might have made a rule in your head, oh, people that make a lot of money aren't good people. So now you have this limiting belief that's 20, 30, 40, 50 years in your past that you don't even remember that you made that decision before, but it's still there.
Hmm.
And that's going to hold you back now from making money today. So letting that go is definitely huge. You know, any limiting beliefs about your capabilities. So, you know, think about it like some people say, oh, I can't draw. And you say, okay, well, when did you decide that? Where did that come from? You know, I'm not
Yeah.
artistic. And they're like, oh, I don't know. You know, when I was in the third grade, we had a project and we just drew, and I just never really took to it. And it just stays with you, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like maybe if we got rid of that and got that out of our own way, we would grow and live that life that we desire. You know, it's very important. Negative emotions from the past as well. You know, we don't
Hmm.
think about it, but not to go too technical, but in my world, we talk about the gestalt, the first event. And let's say it's, you know, anger. You're exposed to anger. We're all exposed to anger for the first time in our lives at some point. And you say, oh, okay, that's anger. And then the next time you see anger, you're like, oh, that's like the first time. And we have like this, it's like a string of pearls in our lives, is our theory, the working theory with NLP and timeline therapy. And they're all attached. So if you remove that first event, then you can clear the rest of that out. And as an example, I always
Hmm.
use road rage as an example. You know, most of the time you people have road rage, it's not literally about the what happened to them at that moment. It wasn't about the guy or the person didn't put on their turn signal or didn't let him in. To have that much anger come up, right? It's about something else. It's about you can't do that to me, or I don't have power, or whatever shows up for you based on that past. So clearing that out and letting you see the experience you're having now as it is now. You know, I also teach mindfulness, right? Be here now, experience life as it is. So, this experience that you're trying to live, the life that you desire, is not the life that you used to live. You know, be informed by the past, but not driven by it.
Yeah, for sure. So this one is about clearing out anything holding you back, and there was a couple of different elements you talked about there. One specifically, I wanted to see if you can give some action steps on this one, and that is the limiting beliefs. So, is there someone that you worked with, or maybe even an example for yourself of like what once you're aware, okay, I have this limiting belief. What are the steps to clear that out?
So, it obviously works best with working with someone because it's working with the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of times Milton Erickson, who was a hypnotherapist and back in the 50s, and he's the grandfather of Ericksonian hypnosis, actually, it's his.
Mm-hmm.
He used to always say, my patients are my patients because they're out of rapport with their unconscious mind.
Mm.
So our unconscious mind is giving us these signals and we don't listen to them. So if you know, if we're not in connection with our unconscious mind, it's hard for us to work with the unconscious mind. So that's by
Yeah.
working with someone such as myself helps you to just, I'll usually say, just take whatever comes up. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
intuition. But when you can deep dive and find that limiting belief, you know, and say, okay, so where was this belief come from? Where was the first event? Which when you release that will allow you to let go of this limiting belief. So as I said, you know, as an example, someone saw something when they were 3 years old, 5 years old, and they're holding that with them all the time. As an example, um, phobias are
Mm-hmm.
are a form of that. It's a one-time learning, you know. So you might have seen a dog bark at somebody or bark at you as a young child, and now your belief is that dogs are all dogs are bad. Okay. Releasing that can help you then like dogs and be around dogs as an example. But to what we're talking about, living the life that you desire, if you don't believe that, say, you're worthy
Mm-hmm.
of living this great life, you know, oh, I'm not good enough, and you have that feeling, going back and finding out where that belief came from. And then what we call it is getting the learnings from it. And learnings, or we say it'd be three things: positive for yourself and for the future.
Hmm.
So the beliefs wouldn't be, oh, people are bad and just tell you wrong things, because that's not positive and that's not about you. So you might say, I can make my own decisions about what's right for my life. I am confident in what I can do, having those things that are going to help you now, living the life that you live now. So it's about going back and looking at where that limiting belief came from and learning from it what you need to learn from it to let it just go now.
Yeah, that's
And
really
I've
good
had
stuff.
I yeah,
What was that final thought you're going to say? You've had what?
I was just going to say, and I've had clients that have really it's just changed their lives.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
money comes up a lot, and
Yeah.
letting go of those limiting beliefs around money is huge. And it's like, oh, I can make as much money as I want.
Right. Yeah. That's so good. Cool. So let's go now to the third and final big idea, and we'll share at the end here where all of our listeners can connect with you, Jason. So the last one here is once you know what you want and you've cleared out anything holding you back, you have to set goals and then take action. So we'll talk about this a little bit and then maybe some action steps on this.
Definitely. Yeah. And this is, everything else is key in building up to this moment.
Sure. Yeah.
Einstein said, nothing happens until something moves.
Yep.
Right? So all the awareness, having all your past clear, that's great, but then you have to take action steps and you have to
Mhm.
make it work. So, setting specific goals, and I'll talk a little bit, a lot of people know about SMART goals, and I'll touch a little bit on that in a second. Um, and then take that action, working with a coach or a mentor to get support. There's a lot of people out there that want to help you, and it might not be paying for a coach, it may not be soliciting that, but it's, there's a lot of people in your life that have done what you want to do. We call it modeling. Find someone that does what you want to do really well, and just try to have them mentor you. Learn from someone that's actually done that, taken that path. um, Setting specific goals. So, the SMART goals, setting something specific, be very clear on what you want, and I talk about money just because it's something that comes up in business and stuff like that. But even if it's for, professionally taking a career, what specific career do you want? I'm like, well, I'm a healer and I help people with their mental health, but how specifically do I help people, and who do I specifically help is something that, I need to, work on to make sure I'm getting to that right person. And being there clear. So specific being, if you want to make more money, don't say I want to make more money. Say if you make $60,000, $600,000, or $60,000 a year, whichever one, and you want to make more, you wouldn't say I want to make more money, because then $60,001 is more, right? You would say I want to make $100,000 a year, and be very
Mm,
specific about it. Measurable, of course, a dollar is measurable, but also measurable in the sense that, okay, my goal is to be a life coach. Well, specifically what type of life coach, et cetera? Okay, so measurable. I want to take this class to get the certification. Achievable. So make sure it's something that you can do. We can achieve anything we want with enough time. That's kind of
mhm.
the universal rule, right? And there's exceptions, of course, but for the most part. However, for you and your situation where you're at, you want to make sure it's achievable. At my age, I don't, if I wanted to be an astronaut, that might not be so achievable at this point, right? So be very clear about that. And then the R is, relevant. Will this get you your outcome? So as you set a goal, don't set goals just to set goals that are going to get you on your path and get you your specific outcome that you want. And then time bound, you want to set time goals for yourself. Don't allow yourself to just be like, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. In 3 months I want to be here, in 4 months I want to be here, in a year I'm going to be this, etc. you know um and that's really the key on setting these goals. And then, of course, like I said, taking action. you know the first step is key. Just getting that momentum built and getting out there and making it happen, and say, okay, this is what I want, this is how I'm going to get it. I feel good and I know I can get it. These are my goals, and now I'm going to take action on those goals.
Yeah, and a lot of it does have to do with the foundation of clearing out, or especially being aware of those limiting beliefs that you have in your mind, because those are the things, at least for me personally, I imagine it's for a lot of people, those are the things that stop you from taking those actions every day toward your goals, right? Because you have the limiting
Yes,
belief, you
definitely.
wouldn't take action if you don't believe it's possible, right?
That's so true.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Man, these all of these I can see how they build upon each other, and especially they kind of tie into the third one of setting goals and reaching goals, because that's how you achieve things is by those daily steps. So this was really, really good stuff, Jason. So I appreciate you coming on to share some insights with our listeners. What's the best way they can connect with you and follow you online?
Thank you so much. And once again, thank you for having me here. Yep.
Yeah,
So my company is One Path Coaching. You could reach me and it's all words, all spelled out. You can reach me at onepathcoaching.com. I love to hear from folks. You could even email me at onepathcoaching@gmail.com. And I'm very active on LinkedIn. And so I know that was in the notes we had talked about that, please follow me on LinkedIn. I write on there. I'm very active. And I'd love to join community with people and interact with you.
awesome. Good stuff. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, for all of our listeners, thank you for joining us here as well. You can get the show notes to this episode by going to askjeremyjones.com, click on podcasts, and you'll see the episode with Jason right there at the top. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.